So I wanted to walk through an example with you guys on the Max Creation graph. This one was cooked up by Martin Koven, and I just wanted to walk through it with you to kind of rebuild it from scratch and kind of show how it works. So you can see that we've got an object here with an MCG color by distance modifier sitting on it, and it's pointing to this little null helper. And based off of the fall off distance, if I move this guy around, it writes information to the vertex color channel based off of the distance. So it's linearly interpolating between white and black based off of that distance, and then with some other parameters that you can modify it. So let's go ahead and start. If I go up to the scripting tab and open up the graph editor, let's go ahead and create this thing. So we know first and foremost that this thing's going to be a modifier. So if we pull up the X key, I can do a quick search for output modifier. And then we know that we're going to be having some parameters that we're needing to pull from this node that's in the scene. So if we grab a parameter inode, that's going to work through the user interface. We can call this thing node, where we see here that we can point to an object, a helper, whatever the deal is, and grab some information about it. We also need to know where it is in space, and to do that, we'll pull up another node. We're going to grab modifier matrix. So to calculate the distance of where this guy is to our object, and from the vertices to that object, let's grab another kind of pre-rolled compound that says mesh vertex to distance. I can pull that out so we can see that guy a little bit. And we can hook these guys up here. So this is really kind of doing our heavy lifting here. Let's put this just into a group. And groups are kind of nice because it allows us to label things. We'll just call this the distance part. You know, so if you have a whole series of nodes, or if you're sharing a graph with somebody else, or you haven't dealt with it for a long time, it's kind of nice to be able to get back in there and to know what part's doing what. The grouping allows you to fairly easily grab a series of nodes, throw them all in there if they're some associated piece of functionality, and give it some information. So the next part that we need to do is we've got to take that distance information, and we're going to be modifying it just a little bit based off of the parameters that we see here in the UI. So let's pull in another node. We're going to pull in an effect region. And so the single information that we're getting here is the distance. And as we saw in our UI, we've got a fall off, bubble, and pinch, and those are all parameters in the UI, so we need to propagate those. We need to be able to get that information in, and we do that with a parameter. In this particular case, we're going to do a parameter single. So we've got a float, and as you can see, we've got inputs for minimum, maximum, and whatever default value that you might want to be working in. And so let's just call this fall off, and instead of digging through and finding multiple of these guys, we can just hit shift and drag, and we can do a copy of that. We'll do bubble and one for pinch. Let's hook these guys all up into those inputs. Because they're taking a little bit of space and we don't really need to deal with them too terribly much, let's just collapse these guys down, get them out of the way. Okay, so now we've got our distance, and we're affecting it by these input parameters, And now we need to do something with it. And what we want to do is we want to interpolate a black to white color based off of this distance information. So there's another compound that somebody had cooked up. So we have some blend options, and let's just do a blend black to white. So we're going to grab that amount, and now this guy is going to linearly interpolate between black to white based off of that information. And we can dig into this compound if we right-click, and we can open it up in a different window. And you can see that under the hood, it's really pretty straightforward. We've got a LERP, a linear interpolation, and it's going from black, which is just 3 values, 0, 0, 0, and white, 1, 1, 1, based off of an input amount that's coming in from the outside and is being output as a compound. We can go back over to our flow. We can see that we've got that guy there, but now we need to do something with this black to white information. We want to shove it into the vertices. So just pull in another node. We'll do color vertices. And we are almost there. So we're going to use this function and drive those color vertices. So for every vertex in our mesh, we are going to then color the vertices. And the output is going to go into that mesh. We also need to know, hey, what mesh is it that we're working on? So we need another input. We'll do a modifier trimesh. And that's it. So at this point we can go ahead and save this guy. I've already got a test version going here. And we can evaluate that, and let's get rid of the one that's existing on there and go to our new version. So we've got this MCG color by distance test, very creative name. Pick our node, give it a certain amount of fall off here. Okay. See that we've got some amount, and as expected it works. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of an existing flow, kind of building it up from scratch. I think it's a really great idea to take some of the example flows that you see and dig into them, try to figure out what's going on under the hood, and then as practice, rebuild that from scratch, figure out what you understand about it, what things you might not understand. It's a really good way to start getting up to speed on what the MCG can do. So thanks a bunch. We'll talk to you soon.